Morning, 1 Million Cups Daytona Beach. How are you guys this morning? All right. 1 Million Cups is an entrepreneurial forum that's sponsored by the Kaufman Foundation out of Kansas City. And right now across this country, in roughly about 185 cities, entrepreneurs just like us are gathering to hear success stories. Do we have any first-timers this morning? Any newcomers this morning? First-timers, raise your hand, please. One back. All right, round of applause. I'm joined by a great leadership team of other 1 Million Cups organizers. If you're an organizer, please raise your hand and be recognized. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all that you do to help make this happen every week. But guys, this morning I'm extremely excited. We've got an incredible speaker. She's back for what we call a refill. She's going to update us on her progress over the last couple of years. We have Dr. Delicia Haynes from Family First Center. So please give me a hand in helping welcome Dr. Delicia.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So it's great to be back, and I always like to start with some questions. So how many of you love going to the doctor's office? Okay, if you're not my patient. How many of you, when you go to the doctor's office, you wait for less than 5 minutes in the waiting room before you get brought back to like the treatment area? Good. How many of you, if you wanted to do like a telemedicine visit where you kind of just like talk to your doctor via Skype or FaceTime or something like that, can do that with your actual doctor, not just some doctor from the internet? How many of you would be interested in that if that was something you could do? All right, so my name is Dr. Delicia Haynes. I'm board certified in family medicine and obesity medicine. I'm the founder and CEO of Family First Health Center, and that's really our goal was to create kind of an ideal clinic for people. And that goal really came from a situation that I had when I was younger, when I was a patient. And I think that all good doctors have at some point been a patient. So this is me back in the 7th grade in my wannabe cross colors. So some of you might know about that. And I was in the 7th grade, and I was taking a shower one day, and I felt a lump in my breast. And at first I was kind of okay with it because I've never been like the most like voluptuous person. So I was like, if I get one on the other side, then maybe I'll. But that lasted for a few seconds, and I got really, really scared. But I knew I would literally have to bare my chest in order to get something done about it. So I did what most of us would do. I ignored it, and I hoped it would go away. And it didn't. And so 2 months later, I told my mom, and she took me to the doctor's office. And I remember we waited for about 2 hours in the waiting room before we got called back. We got called into this blue room that was cold with peeling paint. But even though the environment was really drab, I was excited because I decided that I either wanted to be a doctor, a teacher, or a lawyer. And I found out that if I became a doctor, I could do all three. So I could teach my patients, I could teach medical students, I could teach residents, I could advocate for people, which is the part of law that I liked, and I could heal people, which is what drew me to medicine. And we didn't have any doctors in my family. If we had a family business, it would be the mortuary services. So I always tell people that I try really hard not to support the family business. So I was looking at this as an opportunity for me to have a mentor, to meet somebody who might be a future colleague, future mentor of mine. So another hour passes by, and finally in walks a doctor. And me and my 7th grade enthusiasm was like, I want to be a doctor too. And he looked at me over his glasses and said, take your top off. And I looked at my mom, and she looked at me and she said, it's okay. And so I took off my shirt, and he walked over and he just started pressing on my chest. He didn't introduce himself, didn't wash his hands, just started pressing. And then he stepped back, and he said, it's probably benign fibroadenoma. We won't know for sure until we have it surgically removed. Due to the location, the surgery scar should be small, so if she wants to be a stripper when she grows up, that'll be fine. And he walked out the door. So my mom is a Baptist deaconess, so needless to say, that didn't go over very well with her. And I was devastated. I didn't know what benign meant. I didn't know what a fibroadenoma was, but I knew what surgery was because I've been watching the Surgery Channel because I was interested in medicine. And so I looked at my mom and I started to cry, and I was like, they're gonna cut me. And and she was like, Delicia, put your shirt back on, I'm gonna go talk to the doctor. And she went out to find him, but he'd already gone in another room and wouldn't talk to us. So I decided at that moment that when I became a doctor, I was gonna be the type of doctor that I wish I'd had. The type of doctor that doesn't make you wait for hours for a 7-minute appointment. The kind of doctor that doesn't do 7-minute appointments. The kind of doctor that talks to you in plain English or plain Spanish in words that you can understand. The kind of doctor that if you leave and you forget what just happened and you just need a refresher of what the plan was, it's easy to do that. It's easy to call back. And so I set out to do just that. So I went to the University of Louisville for undergrad and then on to the University of Kentucky for medical school. And in 2005, I moved down to Daytona Beach and started my residency at Halifax and completed that. And got to the end and had to decide what's next. And because I had such a strong vision for how I wanted to practice medicine, I knew that what was next for me was starting my own practice, even though I didn't have any business background whatsoever. I felt very comfortable with my clinical skills, but the business of medicine is a whole other monster that I was introduced to. So I was introduced to kind of the messy part of medicine. So in medicine, if you're trying to get just a price of something, like how much is it going to cost for me to get my stitches out? How much is it going to cost for me to just see the doctor? It is almost impossible to get a straight answer. And what I was finding as I was building my practice was that I was having to hire more and more people not to take care of patients, but to push papers, to follow up on claims, to make sure that we were actually getting paid for the services that we'd already done. And I really felt like there has to be a better way. And my mentors were all telling me that you're gonna get better, it's gonna get better. But it wasn't getting better. I was getting better, but the system wasn't getting any better. At the same point, I recognized that, I had built an amazing team and I wanted to support them. And so I looked at what the cost would be to do traditional health insurance benefits. And it was pretty cost prohibitive for a company of my size. But I also knew that 90% of what people go to the doctor for is primary care. It's actually what I do. It's your coughs and your colds and your diabetes management, your cholesterol and your thyroid, and brain checks and all of those things that primary care doctors diagnose and treat every single day. And insurance definitely has its place. When we think about our car insurance, we don't use our car insurance for door dings and oil changes. We use it when you have a catastrophic collision. When we think about our homeowner's insurance, we don't use it for broken windows. We use it for, hurricane that hopefully won't happen. So it begged the question, why do we use our health insurance different than all the other insurance products and expect our rates to be low? And if we filed a claim for every door ding and oil change, would we have low rates as far as our car insurance? But why then on the health insurance side are we filing a claim for every sinus infection, for every diabetes check, and expecting that we're going to be able to maintain low rates? So health insurance is very important. It's very important to have, but it definitely, it has its place. And I was thinking about all this, and I went to a conference, the 2014 Direct Primary Care Conference. I was just curious. And the universe has a strange way of rewarding your curiosity. Later that year, my biller, who in a medical office, that's the person that makes sure that you stay in practice. Because all of my colleagues were selling their practices to large organizations, those large organizations needed billers. And so they came around to private offices and started poaching billers. So she came up and she was like, I wasn't looking for this, but this is this contract. And I was like, I can't beat that. I can't compete with that. You need to take that. At the time, my personal health insurance was with one of the large health insurers, and my premium had gone up 10%. A few weeks later, I got the contract as a physician with a 40% cut to how much they were going to pay for our services. So I had a decision to make. I knew that I could either try to make those numbers work by firing staff or doubling how many patients I saw per day and become the kind of doctor I never wanted to be in the first place, one that has to see patients on really quickly and simply line medicine. I could sell my practice to one of the large organizations and kind of lose that control about the healing environment, or I could do something totally different. And so in 2015, I decided to take a stand for the doctor-patient relationship, and we became the first direct primary care practice in Delicia County. So the thing about direct primary care is that, again, we know that 90% of what people go to the doctor for it's primary care. So with direct primary care, our patients get all their comprehensive primary care services for a flat monthly rate. No copays, no insurance hassles, no deductibles, just immediate access to their physician. And it works very similarly to a gym. So if you've ever been to a gym, if you're a member of a gym, you can go in and you can use all the equipment, and it's there for you, when you're ready to go. So our practice is very similar to that. All of our patients are members of our practice, and they have a low monthly rate, and for that rate, they get unlimited primary care. And it's not just me that's doing it. So the direct primary care movement is one of the fastest growing movements in the U.S. And so I went to the National Direct Primary Care Conference back in 2014, and then for the past 3 years, I've been invited back to be a speaker at the national conference to help inspire other physicians who are interested in doing the same thing. So it's growing by leaps and bounds. So some of the features of direct primary care: longer one-on-one time with the doctor. This is crucial. When you come to a doctor, unfortunately, the national average is about 7 minutes. Is the time that you spend with your doctor, and that 7 minutes for you to tell them what's going on with you, for them to make an accurate diagnosis for something that could be a life and death situation. And in my belief, it's kind of unethical to be moving so fast that people don't get a chance to say what's really going on with them. So all of our visits are 30 minutes to an hour long. They get 24/7 ability to communicate with the office. So we have a patient portal where patients can be sending us messages. Sometimes you just have a question and you don't want to physically come in. We also offer virtual visits, which has been very popular. So people don't have to leave work or leave their vacation spot to get the health care that they need. They can either jump on the telemedicine platform of their choice, or they can use the secure one that we like to use. And just get access to their doctor and kind of make it really easy and really convenient. They get a wellness plan. So it's not just about taking care of people when they're sick, but what can you do to optimize their health? What can you do to help them stay healthy? I'm a lifestyle medicine physician, so that what I'm really looking at is, what's your lifestyle? And on our intake form, one of the things we ask is, what are your 3 health wishes? What are your 3 health fears? And it's about walking toward those wishes and making sure that we're walking away from the fears. Same for next day appointments. So the average wait time to get into a new physician is like 6 months. And even if you're established with someone, it can take weeks for you to get in. And because of the way that we work, we're able to offer the same or next day appointment so that people aren't having to just stay sick or run to an urgent care and see someone that doesn't know their medical history to take care of their needs. And then they also get discounts and specials on services and labs. Our basic labs that check for things like cholesterol and diabetes and thyroid, we actually include that in the membership. So people don't have to pay anything additional for that. We also draw it on site, and 2 of the ladies who draw it are actually here today. So people get to have a very nice, warm, friendly environment when they're going to draw their blood. Not everybody's a big fan of getting their blood drawn, so we try to make it as friendly as possible. And then for things that aren't primary care, that's where the advocacy really comes out. So we are always kind of looking to see how can we make this easier for people. So our patients, if they need to get an X-ray, those are usually a couple $100. It's like $35 to $40 for our patients because we negotiated those rates. When our patients need to get an MRI, which is usually thousands of dollars, when our patients go, it's about $300 because we personally negotiate those rates on behalf of our members. And so we do a lot of that for our patients. Most of our patients do have insurance, but we do have some that don't. And so we're kind of in. So we take that very seriously of how can we make sure they get what they need in a way that hits their bottom line in a way that they can take care of it. So I've been here since 2005, which is when I started practicing in the area with my training and everything, and built a practice and then kind of reimagined it into what it is today. And since I came last time, we've been honored to have a lot of different awards. So we were I was honored as one of the top doctors, both nationally and then here in Daytona Beach through News Journal. In 2016, we were the Small Business of the Year in the 1 to 10 category, so that was a really big thing for us. And then most recently in 2018, I just squeaked into this 40 under 40 because I turned 40. and was chosen as the Young Professional of the Year for. So back in 2016, I spoke at 1 Million Cups, and that was a huge opportunity for my business. We had recently just reimagined our practice, over from insurance to being direct primary care. And we really we were still the best kept secret in town, and still are to some extent. I'm not the biggest extrovert, so we're always looking for ways that we can connect with people. And back then, we were really focused a lot on just individuals and families, taking care of individuals and families. And we came to 1 Million Cups, and even before that, we realized that business owners really need something like this. I, as a business owner, needed something like this for my employees. So I came and I presented at 1 Million Cups, and we really talked a little bit about the what's in it for business owners. In the audience that day was Brian Dawson, who is CEO of Silver Spear. And I didn't know who he was or that he owned a company. He just asked me like a bunch of questions, but a lot of other people were asking questions as well. And that was one of the first kind of larger companies that we started to work with. And it's been great, obviously for us, but also, just to really take care of an individual's health needs for their employees to say, you have access to personalized health care. Has been a huge benefit, to them. So, but I just want to say thank you to 1 Million Cups because, it really did make a huge difference in, our numbers and our growth. And we also, started to focus more on the business side. So it's natural for me because I am a small business owner to look at ways that I can support other small business owners and, making sure that they're able to retain their top talent. So that's, one of the things that we help them do is in today's economy, you've got to attract and retain the people that you have. One of the ways that you can do that is making sure that your entire benefits package is very attractive. And so we come on board and we help in that area. The area of increasing productivity. So how many times is your employee, your star employee out because they're sick or because their kid is sick and they can't get into a doctor's office quick enough? And one of the things I was really proud about was Melinda Dawson spoke at the Delicia Manufacturing Association. And she doesn't really like public speaking, but she likes us. And so she was willing to go and she shared us as one of their best practices and mentioned the fact that one of the things that they noticed was a decrease in their absenteeism rate when they signed up with direct primary care. And one of the other things that she had mentioned, and she mentioned kind of a specific employee who had always been able to get health insurance for himself through the company, but had never been able to cover his family. And how he always felt that as a provider, he wasn't doing enough. And that this was the first time that he was able to come home and tell his wife and his kids, you've got access to personalized health care. And it just did so much for them as as a company and just as improving that environment and support. And then reducing expenses. So when people are actually using their primary care, they use other services less. So the goal with preventive medicine and primary care is to really get ahead of things before they become catastrophic. So if we can treat the diabetes, if we can treat the high blood pressure, if we can treat the high cholesterol, maybe we can prevent some of those things that would have happened that are really expensive. And then obviously, if you have access to primary care, then you don't have to go to the emergency room as much. You don't have to go to the urgent care as much. So we're always looking at ways that we can kind of help with reducing expenses. One of the ways that kind of works for some of our employers, they've been able to go from whatever they were offering, so like a gold level plan, and kind of drop that down to a bronze level plan and add us in, and it feels like the Cadillac of health benefits because they're getting that personalized care with the primary care, but when it's actually hitting their bottom line, they're actually saving a lot. So that was something that was really attractive to some of our individuals. And these are just some of the companies that we work with. Definitely not all. These are the ones who I had an opportunity to go and talk to the CEO and make sure it was okay to make this slide. And it's just been great to come alongside, and to support a lot of companies. Earlier this morning, we were over at R&R for their safety meeting, and it's just because we have some insight that the business owner might not have in the health, sphere, we're able to kind of make some suggestions that can help everyone. And it's just been just a tremendous blessing for me to be able to serve, at this capacity. And this actually was Monday. So Ryan Dawson put a Facebook post, and I tried to share what he said because it was amazing, but I ended up just sharing like the article that it was connected to. But he just specifically made it a point to tell everyone that, hey, this is one of the best things that we've ever done, for our people, and shared that on his personal Facebook page, which also says a lot, because anytime that you're making a recommendation, you're also putting your reputation out there. So I'm just extremely honored to be aligned with the companies that we've been able to support, and that they've chosen us to kind of support them as well. So our target company profile in terms of like who we've noticed we're really good at serving and we get to make a huge difference is definitely employers who have around 10 employees. And this, it's not exclusive, it's just like who we've noticed that we can come in and make a big difference. Definitely people who are in the construction, manufacturing, and trades industries. There's a lot of competition right now in those industries for skilled labor. So, having something like us that kind of makes you a lot more competitive in the space is important. And then also just, these are typically people that maybe put things off and don't always go to the doctor beforehand. And we've been able to really get in front of some things and prevent what we knew would have been some catastrophic things if they had kept going. So, our interest really is, connections. So who do you know? Who would benefit from having same or next day appointments, longer time with their doctor, virtual visits? What business owners do you know who would like to decrease their total overall healthcare spend, kind of build a healthy workforce, and make sure that they're increasing their productivity and decreasing their absenteeism? And what connections do you have as far as people who are in the health benefit space? And with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Alex?
Hello.
Hello. Hey.
Yeah. Great presentation. We just moved here, so we're looking for a primary care doctor. The question is, how does that apply to people, because it's like a membership, but how does it apply to people that have medical or Medicare? Like, I have Medicare and my wife has insurance. So how would that interact with that for covering, like I had major surgery on my knee and that was covered by Medicare. So, how would your program work?
Right. So most of our patients do have insurance. So we have a lot who don't, but most of our patients have insurance. And for them, it's really about the type of healthcare that they want. So health insurance is not healthcare. And we kind of live in an area where we sometimes feel like it's the same, or they're presented like the same thing. And they're not. So it's important to have health insurance, but what kind of care are you getting for your insurance? Are you happy with that care? So really, it's about people who want to have that longer one-on-one time, who want to have those conveniences. That's really what people are looking for when they are joining us, is that they want that personalized health care. And then we have some people who just want to be off the radar a little bit. So anytime that you're using your insurance, we have to submit those codes. And so all that information is kind of going off, and there are people who are kind of mining that data and just trying to see what's happening as far as demographics and whatnot. We've got some patients who just don't want to be on the radar in that kind of way. So when you're paid privately, we're not submitting anything to anyone. So it stays very confidential.
I belong to LA Fitness with a family plan. So do you have like a family plan for a whole family?
We do. So we've got a couples plan, we've got a single parent plan, we've got a 2-parent family plan. So we definitely made sure that we thought about what would work for people.
Good, thank you.
Hi, Alex with Beamer Corning and Orange Beach Rentals. Great presentation. Sorry we missed the first one. Glad to see the success since, and that 1 million cups has kind of helped boost that growth rate. So I have two quick questions. One, you did touch on kind of your demographics, but it was mostly catered around like the business industries. Do you see younger businesses really adapting to this versus like the older businesses? Specifically mentioning your Skype process or your direct doctor process. I feel like that's something that a younger generation is very intrigued by. Like you mentioned, at a younger age, doctor visits and whatnot seem very overwhelming to you, and the big mystery around the healthcare paying solution and problem, I see older businesses kind of being resistant to change. So first, do you really see this being adapted in younger, millennial type, smaller entrepreneurial businesses? And then two, that being the case, how quickly do you see this being the norm? I mean, this business model is phenomenal as far as both sides work, except for the healthcare systems that are directly choosing to make it difficult to make as much money as they can. So go ahead and both questions if you can slim in one.
Yeah. So with regards to kind of the millennials, there's actually been a couple papers that have shown that that's the group that's most interested in having access to direct primary care. But it's interesting because convenience means different things to different people. So we've got patients who are Medicare, and they want that longer window of time with the doctor. They don't want to come in and get rushed, and especially if you're coming in and you've got like a shoebox of medications. You can't do that in 7 minutes and know what's going on. For my millennials, it's the virtual visits. I don't want to have to come in. I just want to get on the phone, get on Skype, have a conversation with my doctor, not some doctor from who knows, and be able to do that. And then with regards to businesses, really, all of the businesses that we work with are different, and I love that. And what they have in common is how they value their employees. So we've got businesses that are brand new that are at the point that they really couldn't do traditional benefits if they wanted to from a cost standpoint, but they can do us. And then we've got businesses like Silversphere who they had a very robust benefits program before we came on board, and they were looking to take that to the next level. So it has a lot for a lot of different people. And then as far as the growth of direct primary care nationwide, it's the fastest growing movement in primary care. And it's interesting because a few years ago, I asked to go and speak to the doctors on direct primary care, and I was turned down. They felt it was too commercial. And this Friday, I'm going to speak to them because they asked me to come. So there is this slow shift that's happening, but making that jump is scary. And so that's really kind of there's always that pain point is the frustration you're in. Are you willing to do something about it? And not enough physicians are at that point. But they're getting there.
Hi. It seems like the next evolution in your business, and I'm giving you some free business advice, would be to team up with a catastrophic insurance plan so that people who are mostly healthy and just need doctor visits once or twice a year could check off that little box on the tax form that says I have health insurance. Because most people, what the services you're providing, the blood tests, all of that stuff is what a lot of people end up having to need, especially like somebody on maintenance with diabetes or whatever. They don't need all of that extra insurance unless something bad happens. So if you had some way to cover that when it gets bad, you could qualify as insurance, and you get a lot of people signing up.
Yeah, so we don't want to be insurance for a few reasons. And actually that was something that happened this year. We've been working for 6 years to get protection from not looking like insurance so that we didn't have to meet their same standards as far as how much money you need to have in the bank at all times and a couple other things. But it is very important, and I think definitely the next progression is what kind of wraparound products can we create. And that's a space that I've been working with for quite some time. And it's great that we have brokers who kind of know about direct primary care and can suggest different insurance programs. But still, that's an area that is we don't have like the answer yet. Most of our patients will have like a high deductible plan, and then they'll use us for kind of their day-to-day things, and we still have that in the background if they need it. But some things that are in the works are actually developing true like wraparound plans. Yeah.
Good morning, Jason Morgan. How are you?
Good.
Great presentation. Quick question. So I'm just trying to like envision how this would be like set up ideally in terms of like most people in here. And you kind of touched on it, but I'm just trying to figure out like how it would actually work in terms of cost. So like first of all, does your plan allow us to use like an HSA account to pay for it? So it's tax-free dollars or whatever going in. And then kind of that same assumption where your plan is kind of layered in as the first level, and then you have a backup of like a high deductible catastrophic type insurance plan. Let's say something happens where I blow up my knee or whatever and it's 20 grand. All the money that I paid for your plan doesn't count towards co-pays or anything for like deductibles or whatever for my actual plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does the HSA part qualify? Does that work for this or no?
So not yet, and that's an area that I've actually been lobbying, which I never thought I'd do, because we actually have a bill before Congress that would fix that. Because basically right now it's payment before services, so it doesn't qualify as a medical expense. So it's really just kind of it's obviously a medical expense. So it's kind of in this gray area, and the IRS was just like, well, you just need to pass a bill and fix the code. And so that's what we're working on. There are people who have done it kind of more in like arrears. So they basically have an invoice at the end of the year. But it's kind of a gray area, and I don't play in the gray. I like to just keep it simple for people. But it's an area that we're been actively lobbying for. So after we got the law passed in Florida that direct primary care is protected from looking like an insurance, that's really been what we've been focusing on is making sure that people can use their HSAs for direct primary care. Now they can use it for when I send someone to get like MRI done, and I negotiate that great rate, they can use their HSA for that. And that happens quite often where someone will have insurance, and with their insurance, it would be thousands of dollars, and they'd still have to pay it because they've got a deductible to meet. Or they can use our negotiated rate and then use their HSA for that. Yeah.
Hi, Delicia, Steve Keelan, good to see you again. I was here 2 years ago when you made the presentation. I want to tell you what a great treat it is to see a success story like yours. I think this is what we all come to Million Cups for, and I want to congratulate you on that. I noticed you had Donnie's Donuts as one of your company clients. How do you tell Donnie and his people that donuts aren't good for them? Just kidding.
No,
my question,
good for you. They're great for you.
My question to you is, do you have any facility for going out and calling on small business, or are you relying on word of mouth, and do you do it yourself?
Yeah, so at this point, so there was a time where I had hired someone, and that was really kind of their role, and that didn't work out. It's definitely works better when it's CEO to CEO. When we're doing like the business to business side of things. So a lot of it has been me meeting directly, and we just have like a little discovery session, like what are your pain points, what's going on in your business, because we work with a lot of different businesses, but how we come in and how we support them is a little bit different with each one depending on what they need. They know a lot about their population, but to this point it's really been a lot of business to business, CEO to CEO. But it's also, we've had individuals who come in and they work for a company, and the patient will, suggest to the HR person who will suggest to, and it goes that way as well.
So you're the person, how much time do you allot for that in the course of the month?
I should probably keep better track of my hours. So I'm a member of the CEO Exchange, and I get a lot out of being in that group. We meet monthly for a few hours. It's really hard to say how many dedicated hours. I mean, it's definitely at least like 2 hours a week that I'm, doing that part of the business development. Friday is my day where I work on the business, I do telemedicine, and I'm looking at the books. It's probably more hours than what I'm thinking
Excellent presentation, Delicia. Sean Apatessa with the Arc of Delicia. 2 quick questions. Do you have any nonprofits currently? And what about prescription? Is that organized through your organization program, or do they rely on their traditional healthcare?
So currently we've got one nonprofit, and it's been great, working with them because they were definitely in that space where trying to attract top talent for a nonprofit is difficult, and we've definitely been one of their retention strategies. So that's been really helpful. And as far as the prescriptions go, so we're actually in the process. So I have my dispensing license, so I can dispense medications at my office. And we're kind of in the process of deciding what we're going to carry, because metformin is free at Publix, lisinopril is free at Publix, antibiotics are free at Publix. There's a $4 Walmart list. So we have to kind of decide, okay, what makes sense for us to carry when there are all these other resources. What we've been doing up until now is just make people knowledgeable about those resources that are out there. I don't know how many know about GoodRx,
Yes.
which is, so, I'm on that app multiple times a day, just, typing in medications and seeing like, where should this person go to pick this up, where it's gonna be the most cost effective. So we did a survey to our members to see, like, are there any medications that are cost prohibitive for you that would make sense for us to get? I think the only one that came back was like B12. So we were like, okay, we carry B12 shots. We're always kind of looking at that area.
Hey Delicia, Jason again, for Jones. I'm also a score mentor. I wanted to ask a question more on like the business side. So I was talking to Chris, and I just asked him, how often, like, do you go to the doctor in a year? And he said, I don't. I don't really either. So we just kind of said, like, well, why would we pay $1,200 a year for something that we don't use? And then just kind of blanket stating this, so it's more of a high level question, but I would imagine that your typical like customer or patient or whatever are the ones that probably go to the doctor quite a bit. So in terms of capacity level, how do you handle, like if your ideal customer or whatever is somebody that's probably older that's going to the doctor more often than like I am, how do you handle it from like a business standpoint and capacity and like that whole make sure you make enough and you're not overwhelmed and keep the level of service together for them and all that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of young, healthy patients. And I think the one thing that I forgot, that I always forget about sometimes is peace of mind. And how often what I'm giving someone isn't me actually doing something. It's me actually having a conversation and giving them peace of mind about something, and particularly people who have families. Because things come up and you're just kind of like, I just want to ask a question. I just want to make sure that I'm doing right by myself and by my family. So we have a lot of young, healthy people who don't go to the doctor a lot. And we have a lot of people who don't go to the doctor before because they had to pay a copay every time they came. It was a huge hassle. They were disrespected when they came. Like, it was just such a barrier that they just got used to kind of asking their barber or asking someone else for healthcare advice. So when they sign up, they're like, I'll probably never come. We're like, okay. And then we see them actually quite often, or they just kind of have sprinkling questions here and there, which we love, because I would prefer someone to ask me about their health versus asking like their barber or someone else. Not that they aren't valuable. And then about the capacity, so definitely Dr. doctors who are in this model, we have a smaller patient panel so that you can provide this personalized level of service. And I had said 500 as far as like how many patients that I personally was going to take on before we were kind of like, having other physicians that were working with us. And going to the direct primary care, practice national conferences and talking to other doctors who are doing that, it really depends on your patient mix, because obviously you've got 500, healthy people that maybe aren't using your services that much. Well, you can do a lot more versus if you have a lot of really sick people that maybe are using a lot, and maybe your cap is a little bit lower. And there's really not kind of a scale for that. It is more kind of a feel. And it's been something that the 500 still kind of makes sense for us. Like, we still have empty spots on the schedule, which we kind of make sure that we keep so that we can see people. But definitely there is like a capacity mark at which it makes sense to bring someone else on, and that's kind of one of our next steps.
Hey Delicia, Chris Steffen, Florida Virtual Entrepreneur Center. Thank you so much for coming out again. I definitely want to echo Steve's comments about you coming back again and presenting after 2 years. It's just awesome to see what you've done. The presentation is so polished, and just very excited to have you here. And just so everyone knows too, before I got into the Florida Virtual Entrepreneur Center, I spent 9 years selling health insurance, and I would tell my clients, it makes a lot of sense for you to get a high deductible plan with 0 copays and pick up a plan through Delicia. If you look at the numbers, and I crunch the numbers all day long, I relied on numbers when I spoke with people because numbers don't lie. If you look at the numbers, it makes a lot of sense to pair them up. A very high deductible plan that covers hospital visits, surgeries, things like that with Delicia's plan, as opposed to getting a very expensive insurance plan that has $20 primary care copays. So keep that in mind when you're looking, you're analyzing your options, not only as an individual, but as an employer, especially as an employer, because we're not talking $1,200 a year, we're talking 90 times 12 or 80 times 12. So it's a much better deal as an employer to pick up a plan through Delicia and get a catastrophic high deductible plan for your employees. Not only is it going to save you money, but it's also going to give you access to Delicia, more attention as a patient, less wait time. The benefits are just phenomenal. So congratulations, so happy to have you back. And I think with that, we're out of time.
So we do our book drawing here. Last call, anybody want to drop a business card in here real quick? Any other business cards? Dr. Haynes, would you mind drawing our one?